cause a son will be given. The government will rest upon his shoulders. That points ahead to the millennial reign of the Messiah, when the reins of human government will not be human, but be in his divine hands. Until then, we will have to endure politicians. His name will be called Wonderful, Wonderful Counselor, Pele Yoetz, Mighty God, El Gabor, Eternal Father, Aviat, and Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. Without Yeshua, there is no peace. There is no peace. The basis of division in human relations comes down to three essential principles. The first principle is people cannot be at peace with each other because due to sin, they cannot be at peace with themselves. Nations, societies, tribes, people cannot be at peace with each other because they cannot be truly at peace with themselves due to sin. Second principle, there is a division between Jew and Gentile represented by the mechitzat in the temple, separating the court for the Gentiles from the holy place. In Ephesians, we're told in Christ it is broken down. Translated into Hebrew from the Greek or from the English from the Greek, Hu shlomenu nitached hu haritzui shalanu et mechitzat hayarva haras hu shlomenu nitached. He is our peace, we shall be one. He is our reconciliation. The wall of partition is broken down. He's our peace, we shall be one. He spoke of his body as the temple, and in his death, it was like the temple being destroyed. The division was no longer there between Jew and Gentile. Jew and Gentile can only be reconciled in Christ. The seminal influence on Western civilization, Western culture, even Eastern societies that are westernized like Japan and Singapore, certainly the United States and Canada, Latin America, it all comes from Hellenism. This includes what most people think of as the church. The church began in Israel as a Hebraic faith. In Greece, it became a philosophy. In Rome, it became an empire. And in the United States, it became a tax-deductible corporation. And it comes back again. But they've got to make the iron stick to the clay. You got strong nations that are iron. Germany, Britain, France, Italy. But then you got countries that are clay. They're nothing. Economically, they have no leverage. The real decisions that control Europe are made in Germany and in London and in Brussels. These other countries have no choice. They have to get on to make the iron stick with the clay because they're looking for peace. They will follow the Antichrist. But Christ will come. What will become of the political, economic, and religious system of the world? That stone from heaven will hit it and strike it down. And then that stone will become a mountain that fills the whole earth. Again, the millennial reign of Christ. You understand? He will make war against the kingdom of Antichrist. This is what happens in the day of the Lord. They're looking for peace. But because they don't want peace from Christ, which is the only way to get the peace, they'll go to Antichrist. That's true of Europe. It's true of the world's political economic system in confederation with its corrupt religious system, or its false religious system. It'll also ultimately be true of Christendom. What people call Christianity is largely Christendom. I have seen real Christians in California. I've met real Christians at this conference. I've met real Christians in Australia, in Great Britain, in New York last week. I've met real Christians in America, Britain, etc. I've met real Christians. But the only places I've seen real Christianity is where the church is persecuted. We have Christendom. It's going to Babylon. However, the real targets of Satan in setting the stage for Antichrist are ultimately the church and Israel. Looking for peace, they say. The iron doesn't mix with the clay. What it comes down to is this: no Christ, no peace. People cannot even be at peace with themselves. They can go to a shrink and get Prozac prescribed so they can pretend to be at peace, nodding out from Valium, but they're not at peace. If they were at peace, they wouldn't need the Prozac and Valium in most cases. And no peace. Sar Shalom. Peace depends on the Prince of Peace. He's the only one who can deliver the goods. Hu Shlomenu nitahed, hu haritzui shelanu, et mechitzat hayarva haras, hu Shlomenu nitahed. He is our peace, we shall be one. Before the government is on his shoulder, there's going to be an explosion of occult activity. You see that? There's going to be an explosion of demonic superstition and occult activity. Johnson is a mystic. These counterfeit revivals in Toronto and Pensacola, that stuff's not Pentecost, it's lunacy. You've got Kundalini yoga in the church. Only they call it the Toronto experience or something. The church is infiltrated with the cult. One of the worst was convicted, sentenced to 3 years 2 weeks ago, Young Yi Chao. He wrote a book, The Fourth Dimension. He says your subconscious imagination is your spirit. No, it isn't. Imagination is a function of the soul, not the spirit. It's the mind. And he says you visualize what you want, and using the Kenneth Hagin, Kenneth Copeland word faith formula, you speak it into being. Then he writes in the book, Hindus and Buddhists have known this for centuries. Now Jesus Christ has shown it to him. I have no idea if that con artist is a Christian, but he's a Buddhist. He teaches mystical Buddhism. Against to take away debt. Don't say anything against him. Touch not my anointed. You'll be taking that verse out of all context. They're doing the same thing as the witch doctors. There's an explosion of occult even within the church, not just society. But they're not going to get any peace from it. There will be an avalanche of conspiracy theories before Jesus comes back. In the purely secular world, you have delusional psychos who are conspiracy theorists. The problem with conspiracy theories is there's usually a measure of truth in it. But they embellish it, amplify it out of proportion to the evidence, and construct some kind of a scenario. This gets into the church. Only they call it end-time prophecy and discernment. It's nothing to do with end-time prophecy or discernment. It's just conspiracy theorists.